Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of MCreator Tame series. So today what we're going to be looking at is getting the aggro and attacking script all set up. So this is where we left off. We had the sitting mechanics mostly done. There is some stuff that we need to do in here still. So we'll be finishing that up. And we also need to change some of the tasks for the AI pathfinding and stuff. So let's go ahead and quickly change some things around here. So the first thing, like I said, there was some right-click shenanigans going on. So what was happening is it was still able to be, the entity was still able to be written if the entity was sitting. So what we need to do here is we need to make a test for that. And we're going to just check if it is sitting. And then if it is, then what we're going to do is we're just going to kick off the player from actually writing it. That's literally the simplest fix that I can come up with. So that should be all fine now. So if it's sitting, then kick off the entity. So we don't need to do anything in that one anymore. Update tick, we'll get to this in just a little bit. There is some changes that we need to do there. And we need to go to our AI tasks because we actually need to make something a little bit different with this mechanics. So first things first, let's put this over here. So we're going to have the entity basically choose to target the entity that's being hurt by the owner or the owner being hurt by. And then we're going to remove that wandering because we don't really need that wandering when we have, well, we could have the wandering still. We'll just have it below the follow task instead of basically having it above. So that should be fine. We can delete it if it becomes a problem. So basically if it's just standing, it should be fine. I think, let me just double check my notes. Yeah, it should be fine, I think. Okay, so we can have it do that, I guess. We'll have wandering before. And we need 2 additional AI combat blocks. So the first one that we want is basically if the attacker is going to fight back attacker mob. So basically we don't want the attack health one or call for help. And the other thing that we want is basically to chase after the entity. So basically chase a loose site. So do a melee attack. So this will be basically enabling the melee, and that's going to allow them to fight back the mob if it's attacked. So those are the 2 things that we really need to do with the thing. Without these 2 blocks, the hurt blocks won't actually do anything. And we're actually going to disable the mechanics for, or the conditions here, because we want it to attack in any case, right? So the only thing that we need our control node for is the wandering mechanics and the following mechanics. So let's go ahead and put the following before the wandering, because if it is following, then what we want to do is basically have it follow the player. And, you know, tell you the truth, we probably don't really need the wandering one. It most likely won't be ever enabled because it is following the entity, so we can delete that. So after that, we need to go to our control node, and this is basically what's running if the entity should be following, right? So what we need to do is we need to double check 2 things. We need to check if the entity is actually standing. So we don't want it to happen when it's sitting or aggroed. And we do want to check if it is basically got no target entity. So basically if there's no target entity for the entity, then what we want to do is make sure that it's going to basically just let other mechanics run over it. So we need to go to the advanced tab, grab this block down here where it says not equal to null. And we need to go and grab the target entity. So we need to check if it has an attack or an entity that it's attacking. So if it's equal to null, then that's fine. So we need an equal to and not the one with a cross in it, because that one basically tests if it is basically it does have a target entity, where this one here is going to check if it doesn't. So we want to make sure that it doesn't have one and that it's standing in order for it to actually follow the player. So that's good. And the only other thing that we need to work on now is the update tick. So the update tick is a little bit different. We need a couple different conditions here. We need to first check if the entity is not sitting. So we're going to grab our condition here, and we're going to grab our selector for entity. So we're going to select tamed entity and then model. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the sitting name from the sitting one. So this one here, grab that just so it's the same name and I know it's the same name for sure. And we want to put a not block before this because we want to make sure that it's not sitting in this case. After that, what we need is a if statement and an else if statement. And we're going to test for two things. First, we need a null block. And we're going to test if it is equal to null. So if it doesn't have a target and if it does have a target. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our target entity first. So if we scroll down to here, we want to basically test if this is not null or is equal to null. Now, if you see any blocks with the null version right on the side here, if you kind of tilt your head to the right, you can kind of read it. It says null. So in these cases, we can use these blocks here for testing these things. So we're going to test first if it is equal to null, and then it's not equal to null. And then what we need to do is we need to update the model layer. So we'll set the model layer down here to our tamed Zeddy, and then we'll set this to our model. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the standing one. So this one here, and we can save that, I think. So standing, and that is going to be only happening when it doesn't have a target entity. And this one should be our aggro one. So aggro. And this will only happen when it has an aggro one. So basically with these changes, what we basically just added support for was mechanics to attack an entity. So let's go in game and give this a quick test. All right, so we have our three entities here. And as you can see, if we try hopping on this right now, it's going to just boot us off. So that was really important because we were able to ride it before. So let's go ahead and make this guy ride, and we'll get these guys ready to go. So we'll go and find a cave. I'm not sure if this one's tamed. I don't think it is, but we'll tame this up quickly. All right, so that one's tamed. We have 4 of them following us now. That should be plenty of entities to take on a single zombie, or a couple zombies at least. So let's go into this cave here. Sure if they'll be able to slip by here or not. Good enough. All right, so let's go ahead in creative, and then we'll grab a couple spawn eggs. So we want a zombie one. I'm going to grab a couple of these, maybe just a stack. And I'm going to select our sword. I'm going to put some armor on to also protect us. So just to be a little bit more safer. Oh, just threw away our helmet. Okay, so that's good. And we can go back into survival. And I'm going to try to do it over here. Let's get these guys out of the way. So they should start following us a little bit. There we go. All right, so if we spawn it directly under here, we should all start attacking it. So that was without us taking damage, and if we go ahead and allow us to get damage, it will also attack it. So perfect. So everything basically works, and we can still ride these as normal. So that works as well, and we can get it to stay by sitting. So let's go ahead and do one more test. I want to know if the sitting mechanics is going to block entity from actually doing anything. So it should, but we'll just run a quick test to make sure that these guys aren't going to attack anything if we're basically punch something. So they're all sitting right now. And that's a little weird. All right, so that would be due to one thing that I didn't actually see for going to happen, and that is due to our attack condition for our entity. So basically when the entity is hurt or the player attacks it, it should not be affecting the entities that are basically sitting. So we can make a quick exception for that using another condition. So let's go into MCreator and do that quickly. All right, so very similar to our control node, what we have here, what we want to do is we want to make a condition that will only happen when it's not sitting. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a separate control node for only when the entity should be attacking another entity. So in this case, we only want to make sure that it's only happening when it's not sitting, and we're going to link up all our AI tasks to basically this condition that require any combat. So let's go ahead and save this, and we're going to just duplicate it. So we're going to go and AI task control. We want attack condition. And then what we can do is we can basically test if the entity is not sitting. So basically not, and then we can do sitting for this. We want, let's see here, sitting, and we'll paste that in there. So if this is not, if the entity is not sitting, then we want it to basically do attack target, right? So let's go to our Zeddy and update some of these conditions here. So first things first, we want to make sure that this, our attack owner, or hurt entities that attack the owner, has our new condition here. We also want the one that hurt entities that owner attacks. This should also have this condition. And we also want the condition for these two down here. So basically, if the fight attacker mobs back, so basically any mobs that are going to be attacking it, we want it to basically disable. Lastly, we want the main combat one as well to only be disabled when the entity is sitting as well. So those should all be set up now, and this one is only going to happen when the entity is actually does not have an attack target. So again, if it doesn't have an attack target and it is in the standing motion. So with that all set, we should have that bug fixed. So we can go ahead and save that and test one more time. All right, so I'm gonna get these guys out of the way first. So we're gonna pop these guys up, and then we're gonna go over here. And I don't know why I have another diamond helmet, but okay. Get them to come over here, and we'll get them to sit. And get these ones, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and spawn a zombie in. We'll get it to attack us. Okay, nothing happened. Let's go ahead and punch it. And they're completely ignoring it. So that's basically what we wanted. We wanted it to basically ignore the entity attacking if they're sitting. So that's basically it. That's all that we need to do for this series. So if you have any questions or comments, I will be basically opening the workspace onto my projects. There should be a download already in the description for the location where you can download this workspace and all the assets. So outside of that, if you have any questions, you can hop on to the Discord and ask the community there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.